Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. For me, it is a Saturday night, October the 17th, 2015. Hope everyone has had an excellent week. I've had a rather busy week myself. Lots of games going on, and this next week coming up is going to be a particularly interesting one when it comes to trying to keep up with all the games coming down the pike. But I will talk about that as we go along here. I am also drinking the last beer that I have from a winter sampler that I was gifted many moons ago. I had someone gave me a case of Sam Adams, and I saved the worst of it to last. I mean, most of the stuff in there was pretty good, I think. I kind of like the hoppier beers, but this one is not so great. If Coors Light is the warm piss of beers, this is the frozen slushy of it. this particular one, it's called Cold Snap, I think. Not the best. That said, if anyone from a representative of the Sam Adams company wishes to send me free stuff, I would certainly be all down with that. Shameless whoring aside, now we get back over to video games, and we have a lot of news has come down the pike from Wale regarding Cube World, the game that is playing in the background, the game that I absolutely love and enjoy and continue to play even these many years later. This week has been a flurry of tweets about new information. Last week I mentioned that there was a whole bunch of new music uploaded to Wale's SoundCloud, and now he's been tweeting out every single day, at least one tweet a day, about information around the game. And I have gone through Twitter and I have compiled the list of them here, and I'm going to try to do them some kind of justice, but we'll see how well that works out. And I've got it. Let me grab the paper here. I actually wrote it down as I was going because it was a long stream of things. So while I tweet about the various factions that were going to show up in the game, so I've got here the Steel Empire is one that he talks about a bunch. The leader of the Steel Empire is called Empress Cyphera. I hope I pronounced that right. Cyphera. I imagine that's kind of how you go there. And the Steel Empire they're being sort of billed, I guess, as the big bad of the game. It seems like they're coming in and trying to screw up everybody's life. They've got some airships that will spawn throughout the world, and unfortunately, Wale said that he originally tried to make them moving, like the airships that would move around, but it didn't work so well in multiplayer, which kind of makes sense because you got to do a lot of AI syncing going on there, because every client in a multiplayer game is running the same simulation, and the server is really there as the gatekeeper per se. That's usually how it goes. There is another realm of programming where the server does all the bulk of the work, and then the clients are rather dumb and they just kind of take all the stuff in and do what they got to do. And most games and most internet things try to go for the least amount of traffic that they can generate. So it's somewhere in the middle that most of them fall, where the server has to take care of several things to make sure that everybody's playing fair, right? So, because anybody could mod their client and then suddenly they're superheroes that can do whatever they want. Not so easy to affect the server in that regard. So the server usually ends up being the referee in those things and saying, look, your client is telling me, this client here is reporting to me that he's flying at, a speed that is not even possible for the game. So I'm going to make him rubber band back to here, because this is the last known position that I know of that was good. Me being the server and me being the ultimate arbiter of what happens. And so when you have something that is moving around on the server, it becomes a lot more difficult to do the sync up, because most of those objects are probably client side, and the only thing the server is governing is the positions and locations and the direction that things are facing. So that way the packets that are going back and forth between the server and the clients are minimized as much as possible, but the server is still, the ultimate judge of what's going on. So when you have something going on client side that has a lot of AI and stuff related to it, it can get a little bit complicated, because one of those, those clients could all be out of sync as far as where the airship is supposed to be, and the server might not quite be able to translate where it's supposed to be, and so on and so forth. So I could see that being a challenge, but it's a bit unfortunate. I hope, maybe someday you'll be able to get over whatever problem it was that was causing that to not be movable. But in the meantime, even having them in the game, is something brand new to explore and try to possibly loot if you can. I mean, it'll be the first flying thing we've had in the game, as far as I know, at this point. Flying, fortress kind of thing that you would have to get to via your, kite, not kite. What the hell is the thing that? Yeah, it's a it's a kite. Yeah, I mean, it's basically, I forget what they call those that you fly around in, but the name suddenly escapes me for some reason. But yeah, that you have to use that to get to it. So that'll be interesting. Interesting to see. There's some screenshots in his Twitter about it as well. And the Steel Empire also, they have some tools and some weapons at their disposal. They've got a huge boss monster called a mana mech, which is not rideable. It's a mount, but it's not something that you can, as a player, ride in the game, but it is a giant, basically a mech that you have to fight. And they have some paratroopers that can drop in and start to ruin your day. I assume they drop in from the or at least around the area in which a airship occurs. Now, I don't know exactly how they're going to work. It sounds to me, and here's where I'm going off the reservation. I'm going to put words out there that may not be actually accurate at all, but it sounds like to me, I feel like the Steel Empire is going to be that thing that's sort of taking over areas as you're exploring. Like you might have a little area that you're in that you've been romping around in for a while, and maybe the Steel Empire just shows up at some point in a random event, and then they start to take over the place, and then until you do something to wipe them out of that area. Or it may be more than likely it's just you run across them in some newly unexplored area, and you have to do the same thing and try to get rid of them. I don't know. I don't know how exactly it works, if it's going to be something of a an event that randomly happens in places, or if it's something that is tied to the biome that you're in, and you just run across it like you do anything else. It seems like that would be the easiest way to code it, because he's already got that in there. But it would be kind of nice if it was sort of a random thing that happens every so often, as long as it doesn't like overrun you too badly. It doesn't have too much of a negative impact. But that's pretty cool. And then the paratroopers, the airships, and the mana mech. I got a long list here of things I'm looking through, just skimming through here to make sure I get everything in order. And then the next faction that Wally tweeted about was called the Druids of Mana, and they are led by Archdruid Kenda, who is a ghost. So think Star Wars in that regard. Think Obi-Wan after the first episode of episode 4 of Star Wars. He was their leader was killed by Cyphera, which was the leader of the Empress of the Steel Empire. But he still continues to lead the Druids, even in his spirit form. And the Druids have some interesting things. There is Wally tweeted out that there is a quest involving the Druids where you have where is it? So you've got, there was, I can't find it on here, but I know it's on here. There was a mana portal that you can discover along in the world, and it requires some of the Druids to join up with you to unlock it. And then I assume that portal then becomes something that you can use to fast travel around the world, much like, I guess, the portals that we have now in the game, although I don't know if those portals will continue, or if this is the new form that they take on, or if this is just something in addition to that. I'm not entirely sure, but that's another new sort of quest type that you can run across in the game. And by the way, the last tweet from Wale last year, was it last year? Yeah, last year or something like that, over a year ago. There's all new quest mechanics where, right now, as it stands in the game, there's crossed swords above where there are quests available. But that's going away, and it's going to be more of you have to just discover them as you explore the world. The exploration becomes the main vessel by which you find things to do, and then as you go along there, your quests, then you pick them up as you go along, and then you have to go and take care of them. So I wanted to put that back out there again, so you know that that's vastly different from, not vastly different, but it's different from the way things go now. Like right now, quests just regenerate every day, and whenever you sleep at the inn, you'll get 3 or 4 brand new quests on the map, and then so on and so forth. But that's kind of different now. It's different. I think the quests are more permanent now. I don't think they generate new ones like that. Maybe they do. I don't know. But they are more of you got to find them out in the world. And there's a lot of different types, apparently. Wale has spent a lot of time coming up with a grammar system, both in English and in German, I think was the other language that he's doing, where, since the quests are procedurally generated, you want the quest text to make sense. So he had to go through a lot of effort to generate the quest text in such a way that it still makes sense when you read it, and it doesn't sound, weird or off about the way it goes. So that's going to be interesting. In addition to that, so we're talking about the Druids of Mana. They have their monsters that they like to, parade out to attack people are called tree ants, and they are exactly what it sounds like, giant freaking trees. Think the ants in the Lord of the Rings series. And they use rune magic, and they will engrave runes into rune stones, and you can, as you travel around the world, you may encounter a rune stone. And I assume that you can do something with it. I assume that's something that you can maybe suck the power out of it or something like that. I don't know. I guess if you're a mage, you can. If you're like a warrior or something, you might not be able to do anything with it. But maybe if you're one of the magic using classes, you could probably use that to recharge, maybe, or maybe it gives you a mana boost. I'm not entirely sure yet. We're light on the details, but we're getting some good information finally. The other faction that was announced is called the Cult of Doom, and that is led by Dao, the half-demon. And it is, as you might imagine, it's a sort of doomsday cult. that has formed, and they're not necessarily on anybody's side per se. They're just there to watch the world burn as it was. I mean, they're not like the Steel Empire where they're trying to take over everybody and expand their territory. It's more like they're just there to wreak havoc wherever they can, and not make some waves, but at the same time just relish in suffering and stuff. From what I can tell, they don't, as far as I know, hasn't announced anything regarding them as far as the big monsters or anything that they might have access to. Or actually, is that true? What was the one? There is a... No, that's the next one. Okay, so the next faction that was announced is called the Unholy Pact, and that was formed by 3 ghost preachers, and basically all the undead and the necromancers obey these 3 preachers. They go out and do whatever the undead shall do, which is basically roam around the countryside and just make your life rather miserable. But the Unholy Pact also has a combat mount that they use called Skull Slaters, which looks like a giant skull attached to a 1,000-legged creature of some sort that roams around. So that's an interesting thing in it. It was the screenshots that were in there were from one of the new biomes that he's introducing, which is sort of I think it was like a twilight biome, or like a twilight forest kind of thing. If you've played modded Minecraft before, it's kind of something like that, but much creepier, like going through a graveyard kind of thing. So that is interesting. And the next one we have on here, Order of the Light, is the next faction. It was formed by 3 legendary paladins, probably to go against the Unholy Pact. Don't know quite yet. However, only one of those paladins survived. His name is Aurus, Aurus. And he's the leader of the Order of the Light, and that's all we know about them so far. We don't know who they fought. I assume they probably fought the Unholy Pact, light and dark, that whole kind of thing, vanilla and chocolate. you got some chocolate in my peanut butter. So that is what we know about them. And then, of course, the Steel Empire, which I talked about a little bit earlier. In addition to that, I was talking about the quest differences. There's also some new quest mechanics. You can come across some NPCs in the world who are chained up or bound to various traps or devices. And I believe you would then have to go and find a way to free them and do whatever is necessary for that. They were showing off some of the NPC traps were like leg irons. There's some destructible traps, so I assume that if they're caught in a trap, sometimes you can just destroy it, depending on what kind of trap it is. I don't know if there's an unlock mechanic or not, or if they're all just destructible ones. Not entirely sure, but I assume some of them have quests around them, because he did show one that seemed to have a little quest icon hovering over it. Oh yeah, I forgot. The Unholy Pact does have a thing here. Besides the combat mounts, the necromancers can also animate monsters to attack for them. So you can have some various monsters just appear and wreck your life up when you go up against necromancers. And then there's a big changes around the mini-map and the world map. So the way it works now is the world map is pretty much, when you zoom out, it just turns blue. You can just see blue. You zoom in, you can see the area that you're in, the biome that you're in, but you can't see any of the other ones until you come upon them. So it's more like a traveling fog of war kind of thing. And the mini-map is just a smaller version of that. But in the newer version, it's going to be more of a everything, the whole landscape is going to be visible. It's not going to be hidden in that blue fog. And even the undiscovered areas, the undiscovered landscapes are going to be visible. They're just going to be grayed out. So you won't be able to, there will still be a fog of war where you can't see, what is there if you haven't explored it yet. But you can at least see the terrain, and you'll be able to see like, hey, there's a lake there, or maybe there's a, some kind of natural formation that would guide your eye. Like for instance, for me, it took me over, I don't know, almost 50, I think it was 50 episodes or so, 50 or 60 episodes before I finally found a hellscape biome. And that's because I couldn't see where I was going. Every time I go to a new biome, I wouldn't know which biome's coming up. Am I coming close to an ocean? Am I coming to a desert? You just don't know until you get there. All right. This one now allows me to be able to see everything around you and know, okay, there's a desert way off there that I'd like to go investigate, or there's this biome over there that I'd really like to go investigate. So you'll be able to see them. You just won't be able to see anything in them until you've actually explored them. And the ones that you've explored, everything that you find along the way will remain permanently on the screen. So you'll be able to see like, that's where, like for instance, it's always hard to remember where you find portals in the game right now, because the portals can only show up in a biome in a certain area where there's no other, where they're not lined up with any other generation, like any other castles or anything like that. And they're very small and they're very hard to see from the map. So when you run across one, you have no way right now to write down coordinates or anything like that to be able to come back to it again. Whereas it sounds like in the future, that's going to become a permanent marker on the screen. So you'll always be able to see it when you come back into that biome, and always know where you want to go and where you've been and what you've seen and all those things, which is very nice, especially if you stay in one biome for a while and you're not sure if you've visited something before or not, and you want to be able to say, oh yeah, I've been here before, I just didn't clear it out, or yeah, I've been here, but I did clear it out, and so on and so forth. And when you zoom in on the world map, you'll be able to see the borders and all the discovered locations, like I said. I think also all the biomes are going to be a lot smaller than what they are in the game currently. Right now, the biomes are pretty darn big. It takes quite a while to walk across them. It sounds like in the new game, those are going to be a lot smaller. Probably because they've got all these other mechanics here with the quests and whatnot, and trying to keep the number of quests in an area down to a relative minimum, and so on and so forth. So that's another thing to keep in mind. In addition to that, mages can now shoot beams with wands, which they could not do previously, but in the new build they'll be able to do that. The mouse 1 will be, once they pick up a wand, that is, they'll be able to use mouse 1 to do a quick shot, which is usually your left mouse button, and mouse 2, which is usually your right mouse button, to do a channeled shot, which I assume would be the beam weapon. So that's pretty cool. So we can finally fight back against those damn wandering mages with their beams that just completely wreck your face as soon as you get hit by them. And then item tooltips have been tweaked a little bit. The main stat, which, in the case of weapons and stuff, is the damage stat, and for armor and whatnot would be the protection stat. The main stat is going to be larger and bolder and highlight it so you can see it, because that's pretty much your primary thing that you care about with that drop. And in addition to that, when you hover over things, like right now, when you hover over something in your inventory or in the shop, for instance, it will show you the difference between that and your equipped weapon. So if you hover over a weapon, it'll show your equipped weapons stats and then your side by side with the other one that you just hovered over. And you kind of have to visually look at them and go, okay, is this one better? This one's less. This one's better. This one's less. Now it's going to actually show you the differences right there. Like this is -3 damage compared to the thing that you're you're currently wielding, or this is +5 attack to the thing that you're currently wielding. Red and green numbers there, like you see in most RPGs now. When you do a comparison between them, it says like, oh, this is better, or this is an up arrow for better, is a down arrow for less, that kind of thing. Same deal, and that will help out a lot, especially with these random loot generation games or procedural loot generation games, where it's very, you can get all these weapons that drop, and then you spend so much time, like it feels like you're looking at a spreadsheet trying to just figure out, okay, is this one has 2 attributes that are better, this one has 2 attributes that are worse, is this one better overall than this one, and so on and so forth. It gets to be a bit ponderous. So I'm glad to see that he's putting some differences and stuff in there, so you can make it just a little bit easier on the eyes when you're trying to find out what you want and what you want to drop and what you want to keep. So that is, as far as I know, up to this point, Saturday night at 11, October the 17th at 11:23 p.m. Eastern Time. That is the latest that I have as far as tweets from Wale and information about the upcoming builds or upcoming version of Cube World. Don't know when that version is coming. Don't know anything else about it other than what I have just told you guys. So hopefully, I mean, with the new flurry of activity, I have my fingers crossed here that we will be seeing some more stuff coming down. And honestly, the thing that I wish, I don't know if it's, there hasn't been any information, so I don't know. But the thing I really wish for in the game right now is the blueprint system, where I can pick up blueprints from a dungeon and go and build a house with it, and then that becomes the base. And then hopefully, if that becomes the base, then hopefully I'll be able to use that as a way to either fast travel between areas, or even better, in addition to be able to drop off some items there that I want to keep for later, and then come back and be able to pick them up and use it as a proper house. I would like that. I mean, the game itself is built around wandering, right? It's very much an exploration game, and I like that because when you have an exploration game like this, you need a game that's beautiful. You need a game that's generating beautiful vistas, and this game consistently generates really beautiful stuff. And I very much enjoy exploring all the reaches of this game more than I do even Minecraft, because Minecraft, the early beta versions of the game and alpha game did generate some really cool stuff, and it was nice to be able to run across them, but there was nothing really to do, right? I mean, you just except walk, and maybe you build a few things here and there, and then walk some more, and maybe build some more things. And then the newer versions of Minecraft was like, well, we're going to generate some structures, but we're only going to generate them within a radius of the world spawn, and then once you go beyond that radius, you'll never see them. And it's like, well, so you can't get to the end from anywhere else. You have to stay near spawn-ish kind of thing. And that kind of is the antithesis to what you really want to do. A lot of, the thing I see Cube World doing is it's doing the exploration really well. And what I would like to see is continue to do the exploration really well, but also give me just a little snippet, just a little sliver off the vanilla of Minecraft, and bring that in and let me have a house that I can build wherever I want. I don't have to build it brick by brick. You can give me a thing and just say, look, here's like 3 different blueprints or whatever, and you find them in dungeon chests, or you can buy them from a store, and then bam, that's yours, and that's it, right? That's fine for me. I just want that because I want to be able to keep traveling. I want to settle down for a minute, put some stuff away. Maybe I'll circle around that place for a little bit, and then eventually abandon it and go on and continue going. That's the thing that is missing for me from Minecraft. I mean, it's the thing that you can do it in Minecraft. You can go build something and then abandon it and walk out into the world and build something else. But it's just building at that point, right? There's no, hey, I want to go fight some boss monsters, or hey, I want to go do this or that. The only way you can do that is to hop through the nether, get on your rail car, go all the way back to spawn, get back to, go from there over to your, end portal, jump through that, maybe go do some fighting in the end, come back, and then, it's a chore. And I think Cube World's got the advantage in that it won't be a chore for Cube World. I just kind of want a little bit of that permanence where I can, instead of just being this wandering traveler with no home, let me be one that can have some homes along the way, and then you can sort of build a story around that, right? Like, hey, here's, this guy was a big traveling, hero, and he left some tracks around here and there, and there's some houses that, he abandoned as he went out in the world and trying to fight evil and all that stuff. I think that would be awesome. Even if it's more of a, and I think I mentioned this many, many moons ago, even if it's more of a, hey, you can't build something, new in the world, but if you beat a boss monster, beat the boss of a castle, say, you can get his key to the castle, which will then clear out, it'll stop monsters from spawning, and then maybe along the way, if you do that, you can maybe build that castle up, or even just have, merchants and stuff will randomly appear or something along the way, and then and then you can buy and sell from that castle. Maybe they'll show up in the castle and you can do stuff like that. Even that would be good. Like, even if you can't do the other generation, if you can just use the existing generation and make it, improve it that way, I think that would be the ultimate for me. It'd be like the only game I'd play for many, many hours on end, without any possibility of needing to stop, right? Except for being an old guy and having to pee. This is the episode of pee here, my friends. I'm just realizing that right now. So cool. That is the latest with Cube World. So I played this week Minecraft Story Mode. It's a new Telltale game that has come out. It is set in the Minecraft world, and it is a story on top of it using the Telltale engine. I will leave you a link to a Destructoid article that talks about it and gives it a review. As I mentioned in the final episode of that, the part 4 of episode 1, I should say. Now, bearing in mind, this is a Telltale game, so it's going to be multiple episodes. It's just they're going to be spread out over several months, and I don't know when the next episode's coming out, but I'm looking forward to it. But each episode is about 2 hours roughly. And this is following the same patterns. Like, every episode's about 2 hours, and then you get maybe 5 episodes for a season or something like that. And then and then that season is done. And then if you're lucky, they'll come back for a second season or not. It depends on how much they actually sell. Now, as far as the first episode goes, and I mentioned this in the final part of that during the credits, I thought it was competent but a little lackluster. As far as, like, the story is interesting. They're definitely putting a story into Minecraft, which is, it stands on its own, which I'm very happy about, and it doesn't co-opt the source material, right? Like, you've got crafting benches in there, you've got gas that work kind of like gas, although they have a little bit more intelligence. You've got mine carts, you've got various other. Walking through the EnderCon that they had there, you could see, like, all the contraptions that the community has made over the years, like the chicken cooker and things like that, and the redstone stuff that you see in the beginning with the fireworks and the having multicolored glass come over your beacon so that it's a rainbow beacon at various points. All that stuff is really cool to see. It's cool to see that they took a lot of information from the Minecraft world and from the world that's been created by YouTubers and other users, and they integrated that into a decent story. And I like that. I like that they pay homage to the vast community that is there, and there is some community, some fan service, but it's mostly, it's tasteful and it's good. It's really, they did it well. I think the only part of it that they haven't really done that well yet is the characterizations. I think the voice acting is good. I think the music was, it sounded like Minecraft music. It sounded a lot like they just did it all in note blocks, which was kind of cool, actually. But it was barely there at times, so I was like, they could have done with some music, I think. But the characters themselves are not yet at a point where I actually seem to care about them yet. They're getting there. I care a little bit about the pig, Reuben, and I care a little bit about the main character. But the other ones are still not, they're still very shallow, right? Like we're thrown into this world and we're kind of getting bits and pieces of the history that relates, as it relates to the main story, but we're not getting any bits and pieces of the history of the characters so much. And so the characters are very, I don't know, they don't resonate with me just yet. And they're very tropey too. Like, oh, this guy is always, he's the outsider, the loner, and he's can't give up on the hatred of this other guy. And it's standard stuff for writing. And there's nothing particularly wrong with that. It's just that, like I said, none of the characters feel anything more than two-dimensional, which is kind of funny to say because it is a three-dimensional game. But they do feel like they haven't been fleshed out enough. Like, I don't know enough about the backstories of the characters to know if there are to really care about them per se. They just seem like they were very much just thrown into this world, at the last minute, and they have no back history or story. You know that they do have one. It doesn't come across. If I compare this to, say, Tales from the Borderlands, right? They spent a lot of the first episode. They did a lot of the same things they did in the first episode, where they had to set up the world again and set up the premise of the story. But they also did a decent job, a much better job, I think, of making the characters have some sort of motivations and backstory, right? And, you look at Reese, for instance, from Tales from the Borderlands. You don't know too much about what he did. Well, actually, I take that back. You do know that he was working for Hyperion, and he was just doing his thing, trying to climb the corporate ladder, trying, all the things that Hyperion does, all the backstabbing and all that stuff. There's clearly he's been around for a while. They've all got the hand motions, the pew pew that they do to each other, and so he knows the lingo. He knows, he's been there for a while. He's a company man. You can kind of get that sense, but he's also got ambitions and he wants more. And now there's a power vacuum since what's his name, Jack, since Handsome Jack was offed. And you can see, like, they set up this world where people are just kind of, they're all trying to scramble and scrabble for the bits of pieces of meat from the table. And he's just one of those guys trying to do that. And they do a very good job of just setting that up. That Vaughn is the accounting guy. He's the math nerd. He's the book geek, and they're just kind of thrown into this situation where they've taken on more than they can take on because their ambitions have gotten the better of them. And they do a very good job of setting all that up. In Minecraft Story Mode, obviously the main character, they can't say much about him because you can change him up as much as you want, the customizable, but they could still give you some kind of backstory, right? And you know that the people you start out with are you're friends with. You know some of the history of the world. You know there was 4 heroes. There are 4 lights. Sorry, I had to do that. And turns out there are 5 lights. But they set that up. They set that world up. They kind of set up Endercon a little bit. Sorry, I'm hitting the mic if that's translating through. I gotta stop waving my hands. You can't see me waving my hands, so why am I doing it? I don't know anything about the characters beyond what we know here, right? It's like, yes, they do this every year. They go to this Endercon. They do the building competition. The main character has a friend who is a pig. We don't know why he has a friend that's a pig. He just does. We don't know what the story is behind that. We don't know how he came to, be friends with these other people, which may be, I mean, I realize that those are nitpicks as far as the story goes, because they're trying to tell a story and not necessarily give you all the back details. But in the absence of a lot of that stuff, the only thing that the story can hold up on is the power of the action and the power of the stuff that you're doing in it. And that works, but at the same time, I just don't feel that connection yet with it. It's still early. It's still only episode 1. I like what they're doing. They've actually put some like minor puzzle things in the games now where you actually feel like your interactions make some kind of sense. They do pull the same Telltale thing where, it says at the very beginning of the game, your choices affect the outcome of this game, when in fact really your choices are more cosmetic than anything else. They did the choices really well with Tales from the Borderlands though, where like I was looking at who was I watching? I was watching Good play through it. Tales from the Borderlands. Like after I played the episode, like I played the episode, recorded everything, then I started watching others play through it. The same with the Minecraft story mode. I wanted to see others play through it. And, I was watching Good's playthrough, and he did some things different than me, than I did. And he saw scenes, like I saw scenes that he didn't see, and he saw scenes that I didn't see, that I skipped, or he saw them in a different order than I saw them, and so on and so forth. So in that one, they actually did have some content locked away, kind of, quote unquote, that you couldn't see unless you made certain choices. So in that regard, in Tales from the Borderlands series, they actually did that fairly well. I mean, they could have done better, but they did it fairly well, where there was actually your choices actually did make some kind of difference. But in this one, it's more, like I said, they're back to their old cosmetic ways. It's like, yes, your choices make a difference, kind of, but you're still going to see all the same set pieces that everybody else saw, right? You're still going to see all the same. You're going to have the same dialogue in certain areas. It's just you got a little extra dialogue here and a little extra dialogue there, or you got a little bit different dialogue here and a little bit different dialogue there, but you still end up in the same place, and you still end up with the same dialogue tree at some point. Like the tree will branch off just slightly and then come right back to the root again. You know what I mean? Like you can't go much beyond one node beyond the root, basically, which is shallow. It kind of sucks. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I realize they have a story that they want to tell, and I'm more than willing and happy to let them tell it. But don't start out your game by saying your choices make a difference when they don't. You know what I mean? Like you can just drop that off the beginning and stop lying to people. Ouch! I'm being really harsh. I've had only one beer, I swear, but I'm being a little bit harsh. I don't mean to be so harsh. It's just sometimes I get a little bit frustrated with when a game says one thing and then never lives up to that promise. I'll be honest. I have been trying. Today today has been attempt number 3 to record a side quest episode. And I tweeted about this a couple days ago. I tried to record this, I think, on Thursday night, and I fell asleep halfway through it. The recording was going, everything else, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, I think, about 10-15 minutes after I fell asleep because something happened. Something fell in the room or something, and it jolted me awake, and I was like, oh, I literally was asleep for those 15 minutes. I listened back to the audio, and all you can hear is me snoring, which is pretty hilarious. But I decided not to not to put that in a video and put it up there. I decided that it would be best to just kind of delete all that, and so I did. But I have tried. The game, you know what, I'll just say, the game is called Else Heartbreak, right? And it's got apparently some hacking mechanics in it where you can write actual code and it changes the way the game works. But to get to that point, I have yet to get to that point. Like, I literally played the game for an hour and a half today. I've played it for half an hour in 2 other sessions that I gave up on and I started new games on. So I'm now at, like, Steam says I'm over like 2 hours now, I think, playing the game, even though I kept just restarting a new game. But I got an hour and a half into it, and I still didn't get to the hacking mechanics. It's got this freaking shell of monotony just surrounds it when you first get into it. It's like, here's a world, and it's like it gives you an objective. It says, go find this guy that's looking for you. And so you go to the place that says that the guy would be, the guy's not there. So you ask all the people, and they're like, well, maybe you should try over here. So you go over to another place. Nobody's there. Finally somebody walks in, he's like, oh yeah, it's late, I'm going to bed. It's like, oh, so the time makes a difference. So you go back to your room, you sleep, you come back the next day, you go to the place that you were supposed to go to. He's not there. They say go look somewhere else. You go run over as fast as you can to this other place, which is hard to find, and you get there and he's not there. And then it's just like, and then they say, oh, go try this other place. So you try another place, and then it's still not there. You run into somebody else that's a portion that's supposed to be important to the game, and then they say to you, okay, come back tomorrow and we'll talk some more. It's like, well, at this point, I'm an hour and a half in. I still have not seen this hook that's supposed to be the bee's knees about this game. The game is boring as hell. Like, I was comparing it to Seinfeld. Not that Seinfeld's bad, but Seinfeld was billed as a TV show about nothing, right? This is a game about nothing. It says it's a game about love and friendship and shit. It's a game about nothing. Like, literally, you do nothing for the first hour and a half. It boggles my mind. And I'm like, I have a feeling that there's a good game under here, but I freaking am digging. I'm getting jackhammers out. I am, like, racking my brain trying to get to that point, and the game's like, no, just slow down, guy. Where are you going? This is supposed to be an experience, and I'm just going to talk really slow. It's like, jeez Louise, like, you can't sell me on a premise and then hide it like under a mound of ponderous nonsense. Like, literally, I have never played an RPG game where everyone that you talk to is like, so hi, how you doing? I'm doing fine. Great. See ya. And that's it. Like, I run into so many people that were just that. They had no dialogue. It's like, you say hi to them, they're like, eh. You say hi to them again, eh. You say hi to them again, it's like, oh yeah, hi, how you doing? Great, thank you, see you, goodbye. It's why is that there? What is going on? Right? I get that it makes the world seem more alive, but it's also frustrating as hell when you can't find. You know that this game is better than it's actually than it's actually being, and it's just. So my frustration level today is actually pretty high. I think that's why I'm sort of spouting off a little bit of Telltale. I don't mean to spout off at Telltale. I love you guys. Love you to death. You do good things. It's just my frustration level today is pretty high from just not being able. I literally had an hour and a half of footage, and I just deleted it because it was dumb. It was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like literally nothing happened for an hour and a half. I could have uploaded a footage of just a blank screen, and it would have been more interesting than what actually happened. So my frustration is a little bit high right now, but I swear it as my axe and my sword are my witnesses. I will do a side quest video of Else Heartbreak. I don't know when, but at some point I will break this game. I will break into the gooey shell that is the candy coated gooiness of awesomeness that is supposed to be there, that they say is there, that PC Gamer gave it an 86 points out of 100 because it said it was freaking awesome, and I can't get to it. And once I get to it, I will put that video up. But geez Louise. Oh man. That was cathartic. I have to say. I apologize if I peeked your headphones out while doing that, but I just that needed to happen. That very much needed to happen. Thank you, terrible tasting beer, for letting me do that. All right. So that said, another game that I took a look at this week was called Deus Ex Revision. And I'll link you to Rock Paper Shotgun, which just talks about the history behind it and some of the work behind it. But it's a mod that's been in the works for several years apparently. But it's particularly stands out because they went and got the permission of Square Enix, and Square Enix went and actually did a press release when it came out and said like, hey, look, somebody did this and it's pretty awesome, and it's on Steam and you can get it for free and all that stuff. And it's pretty good. And you know, since my video came out, there are those who have found a way to make it work with the GOG version of the game. So I assume that would also work for the DVD version if you have that. There's a few steps, a few hoops you have to jump through to make it work, but I think they've got those ironed out. So you can go look those up. I won't leave any links to that just so I don't get in trouble. You'll have to go Google it yourself. My apologies. But yeah, I intend on doing a Let's Play of it where I'm going to play Deus Ex Revision and also Deus Ex Unmodded. Well, I'll do slightly modded. I was going to play Deus Ex with just the widescreen mods on it, with no texture packs or anything like that, just the widescreen mod, just so that, you know, I can do it at 720p or actually 1080p, just so that it's better for me and maybe a little bit clearer. Plus, I think the widescreen mod gives you the ability to actually change the field of view, which I don't think was in the original game. And I know that Deus Ex Revision you can, so that will allow me to make the field of views line up properly, so that if I do a comparison, when I do a comparison between the two, or if I wipe between the two frames, it'll be a better match up a lot better in the video. So my intent on that is to eventually, and I don't know when I'll do this. Probably, I don't know. I don't know when I'll do it. I don't necessarily want to jump back into Deus Ex just yet, but I do at the same time, because I just did Deus Ex Invisible War, so I kind of wanted to give it a rest for a little bit, and I do have Victor Vran that I want to play after Transformers Devastation, which I came out of the blue, and I wasn't intending on doing Transformers Devastation, but I'm enjoying it a lot. And I'm recording a lot of things at 60 FPS, which means that my hard drive is getting filled up pretty quickly with things. So it's hard for me to do multiple recordings at once anymore because of the hard drive space and stuff. But I'm keeping pushing forward with that, and at some point I will do that. I do want. It's going to take a lot of work. That's the other thing too, is that I'm going to have to play the game twice. Really, play it once unmodded, and then once again in Deus Ex Revision, and then try to match those two up as I'm doing the editing and stuff. So, and there's areas of Deus Ex Revision that don't exist. They added new areas of the map and stuff that don't exist in the original game. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be an interesting little thing that I do. But it's going to take a while, and it's going to be a while before that actually comes up. So that's my plans on that. My big complaint about it. First of all, and I forgot to mention this in my video, but the new models are off by default. Like, you have to turn those on. Like, I went into the options menu, and there's like a menu that's like HDTP or something like that. And you go in there and you set that to all, because it was set to custom and everything was false. So you set that to all, and then you'll get the updated textures for JD and Paul and a couple of the other main characters. Not all of them, but a couple of them. So that's something that I forgot to mention. That's in the game, but that's pretty good. I like that. At least they did a few. And that was a mod that was out there already that they just integrated with this mod pack. So I'm happy to see that. What really bothers me is they've made the game a lot darker as far as the lighting is concerned. Like, it is pitch black in many areas where you just can't even see like the character models or anything in there. And it's really a detriment, I feel like, to the game, because it's, you go and record it and everything gets darker even in the recording. But it's just, you can barely see anything. It really does take away from the game. I feel like they did wrong with that. I'm reminded of one of the special features on the Spaceballs DVD, home DVD. One of the special features on that talked to the director, and he said, and his name, Mel Brooks. That's names, man. I can see the guy's face, I can hear his voice, and trying to think of names is always my problem. Like, I remember people, I remember people's faces, I remember their voices, I remember, their personalities. I can never remember names. It's just, for some reason, I don't, it just bothers the crap out of me. But anyway, Mel Brooks, he said in one of the special features, he's like, yeah, I came into set and I looked at the lighting, and they lit it like they light, regular Hollywood features now, where you can't see any of the backgrounds and everything's like this mood lighting and all that stuff. And he goes in and he says to his lighting director, he says, yeah, I paid for all those sets and I want to see those sets in the finished film. And so they had to go back in, redo all the lighting so that it was just, so you could see the backdrops and you could see all the, even though they were corny and, the whole movie was a corny movie, it was supposed to be, but you could see all the backdrops, you could see all the characters, all the people walking around. It wasn't like the mood lighting and stuff like that. And I feel the same thing when I look at Deus Ex Revision. I'm like, there were people who spent a lot of time redoing the textures on those walls that can no longer be seen because you've dropped the lighting down to almost nothing, right? It's like somebody spent a lot of hard work on those textures, even though they're not the greatest textures in the world. Somebody spent a lot of work on them, and you've now made it so that we can't appreciate it. You know what I mean? It's like, at some point, just knock it off with the realistic lighting. Just give me my regular lighting back, and we'll call it even. All right, so I feel that way too about a lot of things. Like, they do that in movies because they don't want you to see all the corners they cut with the budget. You know what I mean? So you can't see all the itchy stuff in the background of that's not quite up to snuff, but there's no reason to do that in the Deus Ex franchise, right? The other thing is too, I was listening to a lot of the new updated music, and it's good, but it also does the same exact thing. It makes the music that was there. It takes the music that was there and it makes it a lot less, I don't know, bouncy, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. It's muted. It's very, very muted. There's some good tracks in there that are really good, but a lot of the tracks just are very, very muted to where there's almost no soul in them. When you listen to the original Deus Ex tracks, there's a lot of like techno bouncy kind of, soulful stuff in there. It's just, it really, it may not be entirely appropriate to what's going on the screen, and maybe that's why they wanted to go with the composer went with a little bit darker theme there, but it made you as a player feel really good. Like it just made your ears tingle, and what do they call it, Asmir or whatever. It was fantastic. And then they took some of those, they made some of them better. I'm not saying they didn't, but a lot of them, they just took them and they just kind of muted them and just made them like a lot darker and sinister, which fits the story more, but at the same time, I don't really, why does Deus Ex gotta be emo? why you gotta inject emo into my sci-fi story? Go find an empty pizza box to cry over or something. Just like let's have some bounciness in my sci-fi for a little while. I'm tired of the emo crap. When it works, it works. When it doesn't, it really doesn't. And in this case, it really doesn't work for me. But to each their own. Otherwise, very competent. And like I said, I intend to do a let's play of it at some point in the future. All right, I think we have time for at least one more thing here, maybe two. I'd like to get through these last two things. Nvidia, man, Nvidia, you know how to screw things up. When you screw things up, you screw them up really well. So the Nvidia Game Ready drivers. Right now, apparently 90% of the people who have Nvidia cards are using the GeForce Experience app. I am one of those because it just came installed on my machine and I just didn't feel like dealing with it otherwise. Apparently going forward, if you want to continue getting Game Ready drivers when they're available, which means usually they release them right around the new releases of AAA games. So like there was one just recently for the Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefront. Sorry, that's Battlefield. What am I talking about? The Star Wars Battlefront beta just had a Game Ready driver come down. If you want to continue getting those, you're going to have to register. First of all, you're going to have to use GeForce Experience. So if you're not using it right now, then you'll have to download that. And then you're going to have to register with an email address with their site so that they can send you marketing stuff, which is always a terrific thing to force people to do. We're going to force you to talk to our marketers because they are getting paid a lot of money and not doing anything for us at the moment. So yeah, not so great. Don't really want to get marketed to, but I guess I don't have any choice. You can continue to get the quarterly driver updates through Windows Update and through their website. Those will continue to be unencumbered by nonsense. If you don't want GeForce Experience or you don't want to log in for it. For the rest of you, if you're like me and you get games very soon after their launch and you want all your drivers to be up to date and be ready for them, if you want to get your Game Ready drivers, you're going to have to give up your email address, or at least a email address. Hint, to Nvidia. Perhaps you can give them Bill Gates' address and let them deal with him. I'm just saying. It doesn't have to be your address. It could be somebody else's. It could be, if you're like me, an email address that you rarely look at, but you have mostly just for this effect. Yahoo. So let's just say that I make sure that marketers get my Yahoo account because I rarely look at it. But I still own it, and I can still look at it when I need to. So there's that. So that was the Nvidia Game Ready drivers. I will link you to, I think PC Games N had the best write-up on it. I think that's what link I have on here. And you can go take a look at the full gory details yourself on that. And then, yes, finally for this week, YouTube Gaming is starting to roll out their subscription service and some other things like Android streaming. The subscription service is going to be $3.99. It's $1 less than Twitch, which I think Twitch is $4.99. So I think this is $3.99. It's only in beta form right now, so it's only a few streamers have access to it. I don't have access to it. It has not been rolled out to the full realm yet. With it, you get what do you actually get with this? Because this is there was some things, I don't know if VG247 actually listed out the things that you get. Yeah, one of these sites actually listed out. This one didn't, as far as I can tell. But it's I believe you get a chat, personal chat that you can do. It's not. I don't think you get emoticons or anything like that, like you do on Twitch. It's more like you get a fan chat where you can chat directly with the creators if they run it, I guess. And something else. I don't remember what the other thing was, but it was another sort of customized chat thing, I think. But I don't think it was, like I said, I don't think it was emoticons or anything like that. I think it's just you get a certain label in chat or something like that. If you're funding them. Also, in addition to that, the mobile app, the YouTube Gaming mobile app, now on Android will allow you to record your Android games along with your front-facing camera if you have it, so it will automatically overlay your face cam on top of whatever you're recording and streaming, and it will automatically stream that out for you, which is interesting. It's certainly something that they can control greater than Twitch can, so it's certainly something that Twitch can't necessarily do, or easily do anyway. So that was an interesting little twist on it. Especially given how difficult it tends to be to record things from a mobile device. I know for my sake, my Android device, I had to, my tablet, I had to root it, use CyanogenMod on it, and then once I rooted it, I had to get the developer console, which I think you hold down the button, or no, you tap about tablet or something like 5 times, and then it in a row, and then it unlocks that, and then that gives you the HDCP options, which says you can turn off HDCP, but that didn't quite turn it off because when I plug into a TV that doesn't know how to speak the high def communications protocol, not communications, but encryption protocol, it still wouldn't show it. So I had to I found since the Android source code is open source, I dug through the source code and discovered that there is a file that you can put on the drive once you have root access, and it will, if you manipulate that property in that file, it will turn it off entirely, and that's how I'm able to record from in HD, because I've turned off the encryption on that. But I had to go through a lot of hoops to do it. And the fact that people can now stream directly to YouTube, which will then be saved to YouTube without going through all that nonsense, is pretty cool, I would say. We'll see how well it works out if you stream a lot of mobile games, which I don't know how many people stream mobile games, but I would imagine it would be the best way of doing it. Like mobile games being what they are, being long pulls that they do tend to be something that would be more amenable to being streamed, because there's a lot of downtime where you can be talking with the users while you're waiting for something to happen. So that is that with that, and you can go take a look at the article links that I've put down below, and get even more little information there. It's like fan funding, and it's also sponsorships. So there's like, two different things there. They've already got fan funding rolled out to pretty much everybody, which is basically a tip jar. And then the sponsorships is over and above that. I still haven't heard anything about the subscriptions going site-wide yet. There was an update to the terms of service that people over 1,000 subscribers had to do. I have not seen anything yet, so because I don't have that many subscribers, so I have no idea. I have no idea what the future holds with normal YouTube yet. But that's what I've got for you. Thanks so much for watching and listening on SoundCloud, everybody. And I will see you next Sunday.